As COVID cases continue to climb, GOP politicians are doubling down on their opposition to mask and vaccine mandates. On top of everything else, the FDA has to warn people not to take livestock dewormer.
But don't worry about the anti-vaxxers being unprotected, because they have found a new drug that also does not protect them. It's called IVERMECTIN, which is a horse dewormer.
Well. If it isn't old horseworm Rogan.
Bro, do I have to sue CNN?
I don't know, do you?
They're making shit up. They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor.
As we pointed out last night, there are fully credentialed doctors out there currently prescribing a deworming medication to COVID patients.
Ivermectin. Why are people taking livestock formulations of ivermectin in Mississippi?
It's an American company. Mm-hmm. They won the Nobel Prize in 2015 for use in human beings.
Yeah.
And CNN is saying I'm taking horse dewormer.
Weinstein discussed the benefits of a drug called ivermectin, which can and is around the world used to treat and prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
We know that our FDA has in many ways failed us by not allowing for the use of ivermectin.
I pelted them with questions about COVID-19 and the vaccine and therapeutics, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin.
And that's even though the FDA says there's no clear evidence or data it is effective at treating COVID.
Literally, people won't take the vaccine because they're super suspicious of that, but they're taking horse deworming medication?
Proponents say the science behind ivermectin is clear. In fact, we've been sent a demonstration of just how it defends your bloodstream from the virus.
Join the herd. Talk to your large animal veterinarian about ivermectin today. Or don't, because you're not a f***ing sheep.
I'm doing this on the ricketiest fucking chair. Damn capitalism. Blame you for my rickety chair. Anyway, hi, my name is Aaron. Today we're going to talk a little bit about propaganda and horse paste, or ivermectin. A lot of people have been joking about this online, and I've been kind of trying to stay out of it a little bit because I think most of the people that are talking about this don't really have any idea what they're talking about. And that comes from both sides, both the people that are taking the horse paste and the people that are making fun of people that are taking the horse paste. Anyway, that's what we're talking about today. Let's jump into it. This set looks nice, but look, these are my notes. I got schmutz all over the bottom of my notes. I run the least tight ship I believe anybody has ever seen. So over the course of the last 35 years since COVID started, at least it feels like that long, the government and politicians and media figures and outlets have pushed very different narratives about what is right, what is wrong, and what we should or shouldn't do to protect ourselves against probably one of the most virulent viruses that we have seen in the modern era. You would think that since such a disease is taking as many lives as the equivalent of many 9/11s every couple of days for the last few years, that they would probably put out a narrative that made sense, that people understood, and that wasn't completely contradictory everywhere we turn. But unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for some, that is not how the American political system works. Usually corporations, governments, people in power take advantage of desperate situations and find ways to gain personal enrichment while everybody else inside of society is suffering. You can see this whenever there's an economic crash. A few select people always end up with all the money or all the property if you take a look at 2008, while everyone else tends to suffer immense hardships. And that's very similar to what's going on here. Since this started, we've had controversy on masks, on vaccines, on whether or not essential workers are essential or not, and whether or not they should go back to work or stay at home because the business owners want to make sure that the red line continues to move up. We've had controversy about self-isolation, anti-mask rallies all across the entire continent, people deliberately going out and fucking with minimum wage employees for Instagram points or Twitter likes or whatever the fuck it is. And the entire time, the business class has been trying to find a way that they can get people back to work so they don't lose money. Now they've jumped onto this whole bandwagon of saying, oh, well, if people weren't getting the, whatever it is, $300 a week through unemployment benefits, then they would have to get back to work and we wouldn't see this job shortage. It's like every single way to solve this problem that they find is just another Band-Aid solution compounding on a previous problem that just adds to it and adds to it and adds to it until we have this mammoth, uncontrollable, unrelenting problem that consumes the entirety of the world and kills us all. So, like I was saying a moment ago, there's a reason why there's all of this confusion. It's, for the most part, deliberate. And if it's not specifically deliberate, it's a confluence, a conglomeration of a whole bunch of different situations all melding together and essentially creating the perfect storm. When it comes to the business class, the owner class, we see them scrambling as fast as they can to grab all of the resources and all of the money as fast as they possibly can because they realize that the end of capitalism is nigh. And they need to do something to make sure that they hold on to power when the world ends. I'm sorry for being so dire. It's just like that is literally what they believe, and they've even written articles about it, talked about it in little circles, jerked each other off for, oh, hi. Oh, sorry. Like I said, I run a tight ship. They've written articles about it. They've talked about it in tight little circles. They know that there is going to be immense trouble on the horizon. So they want to do whatever they can to maintain control, which also explains in small part why many different cities all across the United States and Canada over the last 10 years have ramped up their police budgets and given them things like tanks and military equipment and so forth and so on, almost as though they're preparing for some sort of uprising here at home. And then, of course, you have all of the politicians, liberal and conservative, using literally every story in the news as a way to gain political points. They polarize every single thing, no matter what it is, so then people end up being forced to fall into these very damaging narratives that inevitably promote pseudoscience or bad science in general, and forces them essentially to ally on some team against a threat that we should actually all be working together to stop. But we don't do that. See, the world, to me, right now, has gotten completely insane. I've been having bad dreams and nightmares for weeks. Honestly, it's like I want to just give this all the fuck up because I feel like nobody's actually going to do anything. I've decided that I might as well just stop completely what I'm doing, stop all this revolutionary mumbo jumbo, and instead just go back to what I love. Animating little characters talking about the inconsistencies within Woo. Anyway, I'm cutting that part out, so it don't really matter. And the whole way along, we've seen this in every situation. The Republicans say don't vaccine, while the Democrats say do vaccine. The Republicans say don't mask up, while the Democrats say wear 17 masks. The Republicans say use experimental drugs like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin and bleach and special lights that you can shine in the anus that will kill all of the bacteria inside, while the Democrats are saying to not do that. In most of these cases, it actually turns out the Democrats are probably more right on the science than the Republicans, but shock among shock. But that isn't something that's completely ahistorical. Republicans often side with anti-science, spirituality, woo culture, blah, 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 blah. But that isn't to say that the Democrats aren't using this for political posturing or points or trying to galvanize their base. That's absolutely what's happening. This is an age-old strategy. We've seen it again and again and again. It doesn't necessarily matter that people believe in reality or science, or even if they believe that what they're saying is true or not. All that really matters is the meta-narrative, how people feel about what you're saying. the Democrats, or liberals in general, usually see a whole bunch of words, a wordy explanation with science and backed up studies and so forth and so on, and they think, oh my God, this is a panacea, it's amazing, I believe everything that's in this. And, you know, believing in science is a good thing. But unfortunately, they often use that as a baseball bat to beat the conservatives or the Republicans over the head with and say, you anti-science idiot, you don't know anything that you're talking about. Now you must listen to me, the informed liberal, about all of these things that you are wrong about. And the conservative doesn't hear the actual science, they just see somebody being a pretentious dickbag and they completely shut off. I personally don't like it when people preach to me either and tell me, oh, well, this thing is going to be good for you. Aaron, stop smoking cigarettes. You're going to die of cancer. I don't smoke cigarettes and look at how healthy I am. Fuck off. I don't really care. I mean, obviously I do care. I don't want to die of cancer. And I get it. Your science is probably correct, but you're a dick about it. So fuck you. And that's basically what's going on here. The liberals are believing that they're saying things that are helpful, which, you know, it is, but they're doing it in a way that is unhelpful by making the conservatives and the Republicans think that they're just being a bunch of elitist dickbags about it, forcing the conservatives to... You know what? I actually have a quote. Hold on. Forcing the conservatives to believe the axiom that you can get as angry at me as you want, it'll only make me more convinced in my opinion. And then that, of course, creates the righteous indignation that, oh my God, flies. I'm clearly possessed by the devil today. That's why I'm talking so fast. So that gives the conservatives the righteous indignation to believe that they are correct anyway, because these people are being assholes and they're able to cherry pick studies and find things that align with their ideas and make them believe that they also have the correct science backing them up. I'm generalizing here. This is actually a much more complicated situation, but let's just, you know, broad stroke it. Let's just broad stroke it for a second. That's what happened with hydroxychloroquine. That's what happened with the whole drinking bleach thing. That's what happened with masks, vaccines, and now enter in ivermectin. This horse paste shit that I was talking about at the very beginning. So what exactly is ivermectin? Well, you probably heard all over the internet that it's a dewormer paste, an anti-parasitic paste that's specifically and only used for animals. Or if you've heard a little bit more about it, you will know that it's not specifically used for animals, but unfortunately, since most of the human doses or product has all been bought up, a lot of people have been resorting to using the horse version, and terrible consequences have happened from it. To the people that believe that it's 100% horse medication and that it's only made for livestock, and that everybody who's talking about using ivermectin is just, a completely ascientific moron who doesn't know what they're talking about, you might be partly right, but it's not only meant for horses. There are human applications for this. Puppies walking around in the background. There are human applications for this, and they've been being used to treat COVID, or at least as an experimental drug to find out if it could treat COVID, pretty much since the beginning, at least for a couple of years now. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly what it is and exactly how the chemical makeup works, because I am not a scientist. I talk on YouTube for a living and usually try to stick to economics and history and that sort of thing. Things that I know a little bit more about, though I am still not an expert on, than germ theory or doctor stuff. But in this case, I did look up a little bit of the research, and it turns out that this medication for a long time has been looked at as a possible solution to the COVID problem.
It all started with this study that looked at the virus in a test tube when scientists suffocated the virus with massive doses of ivermectin. And surprise, surprise, guess what the results showed? There was a major drop in viral replication.
It's extremely cheap. It's easy to manufacture, from what I understand. And some of the properties within it might have actually worked against the disease. There were several studies that were conducted to find out whether or not this would actually work. Some of which were from France, Mexico, Argentina, a bunch of other South American countries. And a lot of them showed a lot of promising results. Many people that were taking the ivermectin as opposed to the hydroxychloroquine were seeing radical decreases in death and so forth and so on. But a lot of these studies were pre-publication, and they were mostly just observational studies. They weren't published in a journal, therefore they weren't really peer-reviewed.
So you start doing some observational studies. Observational studies are not great studies, but they serve a purpose because you want to see if there's any correlation between ivermectin and its potential to help against COVID. If you see a correlation there, then that warrants spending more time and money to do a bigger, higher quality study in order to prove or disprove that the drug is safe and effective. And the best studies for that are double-blinded, randomized, placebo-controlled trials. The more people in the study, the more you can rely on the results. That's how you prove cause and effect. So you take 30,000 people, you give half of them a placebo, and then the other half the medicine. Then you look at the results, and that's how you get your answer, if it's safe and effective. That's the process that was done with the vaccines. The same cannot be said for ivermectin.
But without the gold standard of peer review and all of the other things that go along with it, we can't really definitively say whether or not this ivermectin drug would actually help to treat or cure the symptoms of COVID. It's kind of like the difference between hearsay and actual physical proof.
It's a starting point. It's saying, hey, we might have something here, but there's a problem. The inhibitory concentration of the drug, around 2.5 micromolar, is not achievable in real-life humans. In fact, standard ivermectin dosing achieves blood concentrations of about 25 nanomolar. That's 100-fold less than what's needed in vitro based on that one study. Lung concentrations are a bit higher than blood concentrations, but still 50-fold less than what's needed to inhibit the virus in cells in the culture in the test tube.
Up until now, it's not approved by the FDA or the CDC, and even Merck, the manufacturer of ivermectin itself, has said that you probably shouldn't be using it to try to cure COVID and that it probably wouldn't work. But I've also heard that many drug companies have put out another drug that's almost identical to ivermectin but slightly different at a higher price that they could specifically market to be a COVID treatment. Whether or not this is true, I'm not entirely sure at this time. I don't have all of the information, but if that is true, then that's shady as fuck, and also capitalism. But as it stands right this second, as we speak, ivermectin is not really shown as being a positive, perfect cure, or even really a good cure for COVID, specifically when we already have things like the vaccine, which has already been proven to be very strong against COVID. That isn't to say that this treatment might not have potential in the future, or might need to be used in certain places where people aren't able to get vaccines, in third world countries and so forth and so on. And I've heard and seen a lot of anecdotal evidence stating that it has helped in those cases. But really, anecdotal evidence is just that. It's anecdotal, and without actual conclusive proof, we shouldn't be prescribing people experimental drugs and medicine. And even though a lot of the poisonings and overdoses attributed to ivermectin has actually been overblown, mostly because of a falsified news article that nobody really decided to fact check and everybody just pushed because it, helped promote confirmation bias, there are a lot of people that were using high doses of ivermectin found within the horse drug, the horse version of ivermectin. There were a lot of people using that version of it that ended up having severe consequences.
Captain Joe Manning, 57 years old, a Georgia police officer, who frequently posted anti-vax messages on Facebook, died of COVID.
And I think it goes without saying that no matter what the drug is, even if there is an animal version of it, you shouldn't use the animal version of it if you are a people. Because some animals are bigger and smaller and built differently than humans, and it could kill you. So even though there are some studies that state in the future that ivermectin could be used as a way to treat parts or symptoms of COVID, right now, That's not a good idea, and it's dangerous unless you are prescribed that by an actual medical professional, a doctor, for fuck's sakes. So back to what I was saying about this being the perfect storm, ivermectin just fueled into this whole thing. And actually, it made pretty much everybody who was talking about it online, goddamn flies, I swear to God I am fucking possessed. Basically, every single person online that talked about this sounded like a dumbass. They sounded like a complete dipshit because the liberals that were dunking on the conservatives didn't have enough information to say whether or not it was actually a completely harmful drug and that it was 100% not going to help against COVID and that it was very bad for people to be taking in general and that all of it was just horse medication. They looked like complete dipshits. But then the conservatives that were out there taking the horse medication shit and saying that it was fine looked like complete Darwin Award-winning morons as well. And then, of course, the politicians and media outlets using this as political posturing, and everybody using this as a way to try to gain fucking political points. Oh! Yeah. I guess that's what I get for setting my setup right in the middle of a main thoroughfare within my house that has a million fucking people in it. Anyway, like I was saying, all of the politicians and people in control gunning for political points using this as a way to, you know, make their opponent look stupid or blah, blah, blah. It all conglomerated into a giant storm of dipshittery, and it was not fun to watch. I, in fact, hate watching Twitter, and this dog almost knocked over the camera. This is the most fucking difficult fucking recording I've ever done. Anyway, it created a perfect storm, a conglomeration of all of the dipshittery that could possibly exist all at once, and it had extremely damaging, extremely deadly, literally deadly, people died from it, results. So you're welcome, Twitter, and all of the assholes that got involved in this fucking controversy and debate. You helped in some way to harm or kill people. Great job, Internet. Great fucking job. Anyway, I have like 100 other things that I could talk about in regards to this story, but I'm trying to keep it tight because I don't want to spend a lot of time editing because I have a lot of work to do. Running this little YouTube show along with a lot of the other programs that we have, like the Community Fridge Initiative, like a bunch of other things that we're doing as well, is extremely taxing on my time. And I even have a small team, and we are completely stretched thin. So that is part of the reason why I've been trying to put out fewer videos lately, just because I don't have enough time. And I also wanted to make sure that the videos I was putting out were of a bit higher quality, a little bit nicer lighting, and that sort of thing. But I could use a lot more help, specifically in the realm of editing, video editing. If you out there are somebody that is interested in video editing and want to help me out to do a few small projects, I would be incredibly grateful, and obviously you would be able to have your name in the end credits and everything like that, and I'd even share the ad revenue money with you if we actually made enough to clear the $100 limit to get the ad revenue money. But hey, who knows, maybe if we work together and we're able to have somebody help me edit these videos, more can come out more often, and then we'll be raking in the tens of dollars. Anyway, that's my show. If you want to hit me up and see if you can be an editor for the Re-Education Show, leave a comment in the comment section down below. You could also send me an email at officialre.education@gmail.com, found in the link tree in the description down below. And you can also DM me on Twitter at Professor Darwin. Anyway, that's my show. My name is Aaron. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, keep evolving.